Hello and welcome to bsdtutorial.org. Today we will take a look at some basic disk management, and we are going to use FreeBSD 8.2. So if you are using FreeBSD 9, there will be one problem that FreeBSD 9 doesn't contain sysinstall, instead they have BSD install. So I'm going to do this tutorial later on for FreeBSD version 9, and so this one has the sysinstall that will not be the same as the BSD install, so just that reminder, so you don't watch the tutorial and get frustrated over that it's not functioning in the 9 version. Okay, however, so we will cover the following things. We will take a look at how much data are inside of our hard disk drives. We are going to look at how we can add a new hard disk drive into our system. We will also look at how we going to partition this hard disk drive and to put a new file system on it, and also how to format an old file system. So before we start, I need to warn that we are going to do things that can erase the data of your hard disk drive on the drives you're using. So I cannot take responsibility if there is any data lost. If you're using a virtual machine, there shouldn't be so much problems then. If you're using hard disk drives that you know that you don't care about the data, that's fine then. But I just need to make that warning. So I think we start with the most important thing. It's about to check how much we have on our hard disk drives. I'm going to show you the command, which is called a df. df will show us how many blocks are free on the hard disk drive. And it's not so readable as you can see, because we are expecting megabyte or gigabyte and other measurements. And so to make this command give us more information that we can understand, we need to add human readable option, which is simply like this, df, and you make the flag option h. There are two possibilities to make this command. Either you make it with a small h, or you make a caption one. I'm going to show you both of them. First the one that is a little one. So to start with here, you can see which device and partition, etc. The size of it, how much is used of it, how much is available, the capacity, and where is it mounted. Where it's mounted means like, where is this device attached? Where can I reach it? Like, for example, this device is mounted, which means attached to TMP, which is the temporary folder, and for example this one is attached to the var folder with the constant varying data like log files and things like that. So don't worry too much about mounting right now. We're just going to focus on the disk size. And I told you that there were one option more. There were the same command df, but there were one that has a caption h. If you look at both options here, you see that one gives us different values. See? And those ones are not the same. That one is not either the same there. So you might ask, what's the reason for this? Well, to explain it very simple, but I'm not sure that it can be understood for all beginners, but I think I can try to explain it. That if you're using a smaller h, this one will represent the data as we call it a base of 10. So this means that 1 kilobyte contains of 1000 bytes. If that's how it's I cannot speak today. How it's represented by that. So if it's a small option h, remember that 1 kilobyte is counted as 1000 bytes. On the contrary, on this one, when we use a caption h like this, 1 kilobyte is counted as 1024 bytes, which is a base of 2. So that's the difference. So use the one that you feel for. So if you want to use one that has a base of 2, which is a 1024 bytes per kilobyte, then it's this option with the big caption. If it's 1000 bytes per kilobyte, then it's the one with the little h there. Alright, that was everything for that command. So I think that we basically starts with to attach a new hard disk drive. For example, if you already attached one hard disk drive on your computer on hardware, you have it attached physically. In my case, when I'm running a virtual machine, I need to create a virtual hard disk drive which emulates a hard disk drive. This is done by going to VM and going to settings. And here you can see the hard disk drive, which is the primary one already using. I want to add another one, click add button, and I select hard disk drive, and I create a new virtual disk. I'm going to emulate a SCSI disk. And I'm going to use only 3 GB in this example. And yep, I save it there. And then I'm going to take OK here. And you can see our FreeBSD system has now noticed that I found a SCSI disk attached, which is named DA0. So if we take a look at /dev, which contains all the device nodes. Sorry for that, we need to make L as a dev. And here you can see that we have the DA0, which is the disk we attached. So the first thing we have to do here is that we need to create a slice on this disk. You might ask what a slice is. Well, I think I could say that slice is basically a primary partition. You can have 4 slices per hard disk drive, and you can have 8 partition in each slice. So 32 partition per disk maximum then. And how we do this now is that we are going to use sysinstall. Sysinstall is a utility that gives us possibilities to edit things that after our setup, which like we can add disks, we can make partitions on them, we can format them. So just write sysinstall and press return. In here you're going down to the configure menu. You can browse with your keys, arrow keys, or you can press the C to go there directly and press return. So what we want to do now is that we want to create our slice, and for this we need to go down to fdisk. And here we need to select which drive we want to manipulate. We are going to use the DA0, this one, which is the disk I added. I press the spacebar. So in here we are going to do as following. To create one disk, you simply press C. I mean to create a slice of the disk, you press C. And in case that you want to use all the data for one slice, you just take OK here. A reminder is that if you want to make a disk like 1 GB exactly, you can write 1 and add a G after number 1, as it's mentioned here, for example. Or append the trailing M for megabytes, for example 20 M. That's how we write it to get 20 megabytes, so 1 GB is 1 G. In my case, I'm going to use all the data, so I just press OK. And here it's asking us what type of files, disk should it be, like what type of partition, and it's going to be a slice, so it's type that's already mentioned, 165, so just press OK here. So here we have it, our slice. And if you take a look here, you can see that it stands DA0, that's the disk. You can see it there also, DA0, followed by S1, which means the slice number 1. If you were adding 2 slices on this disk, it would be DA0 slice 1 and DA0 slice 2. That's not so difficult, right? It's just to get the hang of it, because it's not so, this in FreeBSD is a little bit special, to be honest. So to write the changes, you have to press W right now. And remember that when you write changes to this disk, it cannot longer go back. I mean, you can't go back after writing. So if you be careful so it's not data that you need to take care of that, because now it will be lost when you're going to write it. So I press W inside there, yeah, perfect. And then we select yes here. And here it asks us if we want to have a boot manager or an MBR or nothing there. We can select to use nothing if we want, but if we put the MBR, the standard option here, it will add and mask the boot record to the device. And since we already have a device set up with the master boot record, it's going to boot on the one with FreeBSD installed on. So it won't be any, I don't think it won't be any conflict if you put standard, but you can take no, because we don't need a boot manager at all there, because we're going to use the disk for data and no operating system on it. So everything went successful here. We created our slice. The next thing we want to do is to add one partition inside of the slice, or we can add more partition if you want that also. I just need to put a little reminder, not a reminder, but information here that I've noticed that when I'm going to make a partition and I already sliced the disk in sysinstall, I'm not sure if it's the VMware that causes, because I'm getting some problems if I try to do this now directly, or if I don't know if the problem is because I'm using VMware, or if it's a small bug in the sysinstall, or if there's something else going on that I don't know. But I will explain you where the error is coming, but to do the same as I do now, and you will not have the problems to mount the disk later in the partitioning. So just press Q to go out of here, and just tab to cancel, and then you take exit, and you take tab to exit the sysinstall. Now you can, since we are here, I'm going to clear the screen and to show you that we were getting our slice 1 here. You can see DA0 and DA0 slice 1. This means that we have a slice on a hard disk drive now. So you go back to sysinstall right now, because now we want to create our partition, and we go to configure this one. And when we go here, just go down to the label, because the label is where we create our partition inside of the slices. And then we select the hard disk drive by pressing space. Here is where I get the error if I didn't go out from sysinstall and enter it again after slicing. So if you get an error like it stands could not mount the hard disk drive, it's just to go back and make the same procedure again. But now what we are going to do now is to add the partition inside the slice. It's very simple. So it's just like before. You can press C and define how much data you want. If you want everything, just press OK. If you want like 500 megabytes, or let's say 1 gig, let's say 512 megabytes, it will be written like this. And if you want 1 gigabyte, it's written like this, okay? Just take cancel, and I press C again to get this back, to get all the blocks again. And then I just take OK, because I want to use all the data for this partition. If I select FS, I'm asking the system that I want to have a file system. So that's what we want in this case. And here we're going to select the mount point. So you might ask what the mount point is. Mount point is where we're going to attach the hard disk drive to be able to reach it. Like where, for example, imagine like this. If you have a folder named my hard disk drive, that folder is empty, of course. There's nothing in there. But if you mount a hard disk drive with a file system, like a hard disk drive that is prepared for FreeBSD, if you mount it on that disk and not on that folder, it means that if you enter this folder, you will find the data from the disk in that folder. So if you make /mnt it means that we want to mount it on the MNT folder. And then we press OK. We can mount it there temporarily. Here you can see one thing interesting, that DA0, the disk slice 1, has now a partition named D, which is the label. It's mounted, will be mounted there. It has the size of this amount. It will have a file system UFS2 with soft updates enabled. Soft updates is the system that FreeBSD is using to make soft changes, like to ensure that if a power down is happening, it might be able to save the data. It will not be corrupted, but it can be corrupted because the power off is very dramatic. So it's at least it's not a guarantee, but it should try to solve it. And it's going to be format, you can see there. Like if you if you press, you can see the toggle new FS here. This is going to change between N or Y, so that means yes or no to format it or not. So now it's going to be formatted. I press W and I take OK here. And here is where the error might occur that I was experiencing before, so just so you know where the error is happening. But now everything should be okay because I was exiting system install and going back again, as I was speaking so much about. Alright, now we have this disk with that slice and that partition mounted over there, and it should be formatted and ready to use. So just press Q to go out from here, press tab to go to cancel here, and you can go to exit there, and you can tab to exit there. I clear the screen. And now we first look at devices. You can see here that disk exists and it has this slice and it has this label. And now if we look, we can go to MNT and make an LS. You see that this hard disk drive is now empty. Let's add something. Yeah, I just add something here. Now this file is on that hard disk drive, and so what can we do more? Now we see that everything functions, and if I look inside the MNT there, you can see that the file exists in there. We can say that we want to format this hard disk drive. Let's say that we want to erase everything on that disk now. We cannot erase anything if it's on a disk as long as the disk is mounted somewhere. This means that we need to remove the hard disk drive from where it's connected before it can be formatted. To do that, we need to use one command, which is called umount, like that. And this command, it's not unmount, it's umount. Notice, because it can be confusing, that one. And so now we're going to remove that disk, and you can make directly umount/mnt. Remember that you cannot stand in the hard disk drive when you are mounting it, so make sure that you're not standing in the hard disk drive. If you do, you will get the device is busy as an error. Okay, so now the device has been unmounted. And you can see it here, it's no data in it. To format it, you simply do like this. New FS followed by a flag, which is a caption like a big U letter. And then we go to the device DA0S1D. And there we have it. Now the disk has been erased. So if we try to mount this one, don't worry if you don't understand the mount command right now. So then if we mount dev DA0 slice 1D into /mnt, for example, you can see if we look in MNT that our file is now gone. It's not that hard, right? It's not. It seems it can be a little bit hard at the beginning, but later on it falls in naturally. So that's how you format a disk with a UFS2 file system. So I think that if a mounting process, if you need to learn more about it and you feel like you want to know how to mount so the hard disk drive is always attached to a specific place for each reboot of the machine, you can look at, we have a video, or we have two videos, it's split in two parts I guess, which is named Mount Hard Disk and USB Device. That one will contain how you can mount a hard disk and how you can unmount it, and it's much more in detail, because that's why I saved so much information from mounting from here, because I was thinking that it's better to have one tutorial specific for the mounting part and one for the disk management with this one. So check those. You can find also on our webpage www.bsdtutorial.org. If you look under FreeBSD on the menu, you will be able to see mounting or something like mounting, and there's where you find the video. And also some extra stuff before I finish this tutorial. In case you want to make a software RAID, let's say a mirror, like a hard disk drive that copy each other to become one entire drive that is a little bit more fail-safe. We have those tutorials also on that webpage. If you look in the menu, it should be called Geom Mirror 1. That's very interesting if you like to have some security. But always remember that you need more, because you need backups. We cannot rely on one mirror only, because backups on other places are very important to have in case something more happens. Alright, so this was the basic introduction of how we can manage our hard disk drives and how to format them and check how much remains, etc. And this is an essential knowledge that we need to have. And I have to try out also if the sysinstall is having some problems on hardware, or if it was my VMware, if it was something else. But I will tell you if I find out what's the problem with that. Just remember that if you get the problem in the sysinstall, you just can go out from that menu, go in again and make the partition again. That's all I have to say about that. Okay, that was everything. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it useful. And good luck with all the administration, and see you next time.